Mike Norvell caught a lot of eyes on Saturday night when he coached up Deuce Spann on the sideline in the Miami game. We're going to talk about that interaction, what it means for FSU, and how fortunate fans are to have a coach like Mike Norvell. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for coming to the channel. Do me a favor. I really want to get you guys' comments on this one. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the interaction that we're going to talk about, Norvell in general, and just what your thoughts were Saturday night as you watched this interaction between Spann and Norvell. Likes and subscribes are great. Never going to turn those down, but I really want to hear the comments as this is a little bit more of a personal topic or issue. Florida State led Miami 38-3 with about 10 minutes to go in the game. The Canes hadn't sniffed the end zone all night and hadn't scored a touchdown in 2 games. But it wasn't quitting time just yet for Mike Norvell. He was still coaching with the same fire and the same passion that he had in the first quarter of the rivalry game. Now you've seen the play. You know what happens next. Spann gets a 15-yard penalty, personal foul after a third down play, and the Noles are backed up on the ensuing punt. In all actuality, the impact that this one personal foul had on the game was literally zero. Miami wasn't all of a sudden going to come back and make this a game due to 15 yards. I don't know that Norvell necessarily wanted it to be public or if he'd have preferred it to be private, but he addressed it when it happened. If the same thing would have happened in practice, I believe Norvell would have done and reacted the same exact way. We just wouldn't have found out about it. However, the ESPN cameras caught the interaction where Spann was visibly upset, and Norvell had to literally chase him down to continue their interaction. Mike Norvell practices what he preaches. He's the same on play 1 as he is on play 70. This penalty didn't impact the game, but it could impact others. You see, Mike Norvell remembers what happened last year in the Clemson game, where DJ Lundy was penalized 15 yards for a late hit out of bounds that gave Clemson a first down instead of a third down. The Tigers would take the lead on the very next play and would ultimately win the game. He also remembers Jermaine Johnson, though I disagree with this call, being called for a personal foul, a celebration penalty, after his go-ahead touchdown in the Clemson game. So he knows that one play can impact the game, and Mike knows what one play can do. He used this moment to coach Spann hard for the future. What was interesting to me is that Mike went right back to him on the very next offensive play. I don't know that any FSU fans expected this, but after a Miami 3-and-out, Tate Rodemaker found Spann on a pretty intentionally designed 8-yard completion on Florida State's next play. This was obviously intentional. It showed trust between Norvell and Spann. It showed that correction and acceptance had both taken place. If he hadn't been receptive to the coaching, there's no chance that Spann's even on the field, let alone getting plays drawn up for him. One other aspect of this that is important to mention, I've spoken with a few people that are close to some FSU recruits, and they were pretty impressed with the interaction as well. They liked the way that Mike coached Spann up. They liked the way that he went right back to Spann after the interaction. I think the recruits taking notice of big moments like that and understanding what they're walking into is huge. I don't know that it makes the difference in any one recruitment or you didn't see somebody immediately commit to FSU after that interaction, but I do think it's something that recruits take notice of. I think it's something that played pretty positively in their eyes. It's something that continues to push this program forward as Mike Norvell is rewarded for his consistency. Folks who don't have a clue on social media were saying that Mike was doing too much in this moment, but clearly this was a coach who made an immediate impact, and it played out perfectly. In years past, this would have gone much differently. We don't have to spend much time on it, but I can only imagine if this had been Jimbo toward the end of his tenure or potentially Willie Taggart. They both would have likely lost the locker room that night. But the culture that Norvell is building is different. Guys are bought in. FSU fans haven't had to worry about effort or attitude since Mike got here, and Saturday was another example of that culture. There was some negativity from parts of the fan base who just literally can't be happy about anything that happens at FSU. But this played out phenomenally on social media, in coaching circles, and more. Coaches and players were absolutely commending Norvell, everyone from Jermaine Johnson to other NFL players to high school coaches that I follow and more. Norvell is proving to check a heck of a lot of boxes as a head coach. He's somebody with passion that demands a standard from his players. He's somebody that gets the absolute most out of his team. He's somebody who's a very good game day coach, and Norvell is someone who has great schemes and is a very good offensive mind and pretty good at calling plays. He's got some work to do in some areas. He is in no means perfect, but the signs are there of just how good a coach he can be. Look at the season that we're having right now, and the chances to finish that season with a pretty successful record continue to point that way as well. What are your thoughts? Again, would love comments on this. Would love to know what you're thinking, what you were thinking during the Spann situation on Saturday evening, what you thought about Norvell going right back to him. Comment below. Let's interact and chat down there so that I can get your perspective on it as well. Are you an FSU fan? Did you think that this was a good moment? Are you not an FSU fan? What did you think about the moment from that perspective? I would love to hear from you. Hit us up in the comments. Of course, likes and subscribes are always awesome. But on a personal issue like this, I'd really like to know what you guys are thinking. Let's interact below. Thank you guys again for hanging out. We'll talk to you guys soon. Go Noles.